For all your t-shirt needs, check out TeePublic's Killer Selection. Follow the link in the description. Hey, what's up, people? Pizzal here, and today I want to talk to you guys about the new Arrow Video Blu-ray release for 1973's Schlock, written and directed by John Landis. John Landis also stars in the film as Schlock. Now, this is partially going to be a review of the movie as well as a review of this Blu-ray release. And I hardly know where to begin with Schlock. This was John Landis's first film. It's a low-budget film. It's a cheesy, over-the-top, non-narrative movie that certainly lives up to its title. The movie revolves around the character of Schlock, who is the missing link. Schlock lives in a cavern underground, occasionally coming to the surface to steal bananas and kill scores of people. The movie accounts several hundred deaths to Schlock. And Schlock spends the entire movie just kind of stumbling from one scene to another without any kind of connective tissue linking the two scenes together. And each scene is just more and more kind of over the top. Again, there's no plot. There's really no narrative here. It's just, it's like a gonzo comedy satire movie with John Landis in an ape costume that was actually created by Rick Baker. This was like Rick Baker's first gig in the industry as well. And the ape costume, it looks good and it looks bad at the same time. It looks good in that, it was Rick Baker's first job. They had no money. He basically built the thing in his mother's house. So by those standards, it looks great, but it looks bad, but bad in the context of the film Schlock. It has no meaning. John Landis even considers this to be a really bad movie. Now, I would not consider Schlock to be a bad movie. Schlock is an acquired taste, though. You have to be in the right frame of mind, I think, to truly appreciate Schlock. Because it is a comedy, satire, it's over the top. Schlock goes from killing hundreds of people at a playground area to throwing pieces of bread into a lake with a little girl, to then he destroys a reckless driver's car because he's a reckless driver. Then he shares like this ice cream thing with these little girls. The whole time he's being chased by this detective whose name is Wino. This is a crazy movie, but it's a movie that I, for one, found really entertaining because it's the kind of film where you really have no idea what's going to happen next. This is clearly an ode to the fact that John Landis loved, monster movies and creature features and, magazines like Famous Monsters of Filmland. Forrest J. Ackerman actually has a cameo in the film. It's an interesting sequence in which Schlock wanders into a movie theater. He's watching The Blob with this audience, and he's all encompassed in The Blob, and he's got Forrest J. Ackerman sitting next to him. It's an odd sequence. One thing I will definitely say about Schlock is that it's quite charming. John Landis does a great job as Schlock inside this ape suit. He's able to, with his gesture, it's sort of it's a pantomimed, a performance, and John Landis does a fantastic job without saying anything, just grunting, his eyes, his posture, his body movements. He has great comedic timing. And he does a fantastic job in this film without any dialogue. You like the character of Schlock, despite the fact that he's killed hundreds of people. It's almost as if the character of Schlock is not just satirizing these kinds of, creature feature, cheesy monster movies, but satirizing, what was going on at the time when the film was made. This was sort of the hippie era. It was, there's some Vietnam references in the film. I, for one, had a fantastic time watching Schlock. It certainly lives up to its name. It's cheesy. It's silly. I actually think it's a fairly well-made film, considering the fact that it was John Landis's very first time behind the camera. I think he does a great job directing the film. It looks good. The pacing is a little bit off because it's almost as if John Landis just said, okay, how much money have we got to shoot this scene? Okay, we've got enough money for a chocolate cake. So let's go buy a chocolate cake and we'll have Schlock just eat the cake and pour milk down his throat and just do something crazy with whatever we can afford for him to do crazy things with. That's kind of that's Schlock in a nutshell. And I, for one, found it quite charming, I have to say. If you've not seen Schlock, I do recommend it. Again, keep in mind, this is definitely not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I think you kind of need to be in the right frame of mind to watch Schlock. I think you need to be in a schlocky state of mind to truly appreciate Schlock. But I certainly did. If you like Schlock, if you're a fan of this film, you definitely want to look into picking up this Blu-ray release from Arrow Video. If you've not seen Schlock and you're in a schlocky kind of mood, this Blu-ray would be a great way to introduce yourself to the film. The Blu-ray here, the presentation, it comes in a clear Blu-ray case. You've got the original artwork for the film here. Inside, the sleeve is reversible you have some newly commissioned artwork there inside, which is really cool. You get a very nice full color booklet here with a write-up about Schlock from the great Joe Bob Briggs. I mean, how cool is that? Full color images inside. There is Schlock there coming out of his hole in the earth. So you've got some really nice photos here, and you've got a nice write-up by Joe Bob Briggs. You can't go wrong with that. As far as the picture quality and sound quality are concerned, the picture quality, this Blu-ray features a 4K restoration of the film from the original camera negative. The movie looked really good, I have to say. For a movie that was shot in 1973, I'm not sure what it was shot on, what millimeter film it was shot on, but Arrow did a fantastic job with the restoration of this film. It looks crisp, it looks clean. The picture quality is fantastic. The sound quality also absolutely fantastic. I would give them both solid 4s out of 5s. As far as extras are concerned, first up, we get Schlock Defrosted. It's 17 minutes and 51 seconds in length. It's a new interview with author and critic Kim Newman, recorded exclusively for Arrow Video in 2018, in which Mr. Newman discusses the generation of filmmakers, which includes John Landis, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Joe Dante, etc., who grew up with horror and sci-fi, lovers of monster movies and monster magazines who made it big in show business. Mr. Newman discusses the good and bad, but mostly the good, in regards to Schlock, its themes, its satirical nature, and of course Landis's portrayal of Schlock. Very nice interview with Mr. Newman. Next up, we have Birth of a Schlock. It's 41 minutes and 35 seconds in length. It is a Q&A session with John Landis recorded for Turbine Media in 2017. Mr. Landis discusses the films that inspired him to be a filmmaker. He discusses growing up in LA and trying to get in touch with his favorite filmmakers and eventually getting a job in the mailroom of 20th Century Fox before getting before getting a job on the second unit of a film and then moving on to work in Spain and Rome as a stuntman. I had no idea that John Landis was a stuntman. That's pretty interesting. Then he recalls moving back to LA to where he was he was offered a job as an assistant director, but that fell through. And so he said, if I want to be a director, I might as well just direct a movie. And Schlock was born. Landis also tells a story about how Anthony Hitchcock was a fan of American Werewolf in London, and that he would have lunch with Anthony Hitchcock on just call up. Anthony Hitchcock would call him up and say, "Hey, let's have lunch," and they would just had these random lunches together. How freaking cool is that? That's wow. Mr. Landis discusses shooting Schlock in 11 days and working with Rick Baker to create the ape suit. He discusses Schlock not being the calling card to success that he thought it would be. He discusses acting in the ape suit and how hot it was inside the ape suit because it was like 100 and something degrees in LA when they were shooting the film. And he said that he lost about 5 pounds a day just from sweating inside the suit because he was acting in the suit and he was directing the film inside the ape suit. I mean, how odd is that to be directed? Your director is in an ape suit directing you. That would be odd. He discusses the Kentucky Fried Movie and how it came about, got financed, etc., and how that led to Animal House. He discusses the differences between Schlock and American Werewolf in London. Very nice, informative interview with Mr. Landis. Next up, we got I Shot Schlock. It's 7 minutes and 34 seconds in length. It's an archival interview with cinematographer Bob Collins. Mr. Collins discusses how he got the gig shooting Schlock. He discusses meeting John Landis and Rick Baker's work on the film. He also discusses playing the bartender in Schlock and having all of his kids play parts in the film as well. We get 3 trailers and radio spots for the film, and we also get an audio commentary with John Landis and Rick Baker that was on the Anchor Bay DVD release. Excuse me. I listened to about 20 minutes of the commentary with Mr. Landis and Mr. Baker. Very informative, very entertaining commentary. They talk about the locations. They talk about the ape suit quite a bit. Landis talks about performing and directing the film inside the ape suit. They talk about how they got the financing for the film, etc. Very entertaining, very informative commentary for Schlock, at least for the 20 or so minutes that I listened to with the film. This is a very nice Blu-ray release for Schlock from the fine folks over at Arrow Video. If you're a fan of Schlock, you definitely want to look into picking up this Blu-ray and adding it to your collection. If you're in a schlocky mood, I would definitely recommend Schlock. If you've not seen the film, this Blu-ray would be a great way to introduce yourself to the movie. Great picture quality, great sound quality. Got a lot of great extras on this release as well. If you've seen Schlock, please let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments section below. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. They're also right around here. Hope you guys are all having a great, safe, awesome, horror-filled October. Take care, and until next time, peace. Join the A Buck a Month Club and help support my channel on Patreon. Thank you to my current patrons, Kevin Smythe, Orc145626, B-Movie Mike, Robert Sobel, Turi Delamore, Stephen Flanagan, Lori Holt, Mitch Odell, Farron Sutton, Craig Farrand, Jeremiah Lambert, Grindhouse Grotto, Joseph Charlesworth, Chris Earls, Derek Jana, Demon Waffles, Tim Williams, Stone Gassman, Zachary Barton, Mr. Bibby 86, James Welch, Eli Geisler, Jeff Overing, Cliff Hostetter, Cal McGuire, Jay the Stingray, Lauren Dixon, and Travis Davis. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.